Welcome to Recruiter Fuel. Today's episode is all about creating the best experience you can for your hiring managers. I'm Scott Wilson, Managing Director of Executive Search.
And I'm Brittany Crossing, one of the client relationship managers here.
And today we're going to be talking to you about some simple steps you can take to create that exceptional experience for your hiring managers on all your recruiting engagements. So Brittany, in addition to your client relationship manager, and for those that don't know, that's a title that we use for account managers here at Qualigence, you've also spent time in your career recruiting.
Yes.
So when you think about the recruiting projects that you and your team are a part of, that the recruiting staff is a part of, what are some of those first steps that we have to take to make sure that we're starting out right and creating that really strong experience for a hiring manager?
Absolutely. I think it's about that communication piece where we're making sure that we are, having the proper calls with our clients, with the hiring manager. We talk about having the job description, which is great. It's a great starting point, but we want to know those soft skills. Talk a little bit more about a culture fit in the company. Is this person reporting to anybody? Some of those softer skills, like I just mentioned a second ago, but really learning about the ins and outs of what this person is looking for in this role.
So oftentimes we're approached by clients about projects. We're told, well, your main point of contact is going to be, and it's usually someone within human resources or talent acquisition. Why is it so important to make sure that the hiring manager is included in those early stage conversations?
Well, I think it's important because at the end of the day, the hiring manager is making the decision. This person is going to be reporting into them, right? It's not reporting into HR or talent acquisition. I think they do a great job with supporting, but to have it through that process right away from start to beginning, talking about interview process, what that's going to look like, it shows the hiring manager what's going on in the market, right? We really pride ourselves on that communication piece where every single week we're having update calls or bi-weekly update calls with the hiring manager, and we're going over what we're seeing in the market, what we're hearing in the market, and we're relaying that information because a lot of the stuff is unknown to hiring managers where it's more talent acquisition or HR that knows more of those data points.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, one of the key reasons that you want that hiring manager involved from the very beginning is you do want not just HR's version of this is the candidate we're looking for and this is the skills that are important to us. Because HR can oftentimes give us a good understanding of a company culture, for example, or they can share with us information about the hiring leader, him or herself. But we really want kind of hear it directly from the horse's mouth, for lack of a better term. We want to hear it from the hiring manager. We want to understand what's changed within their part of the business. What goals do they have to grow their organization, their piece of the organization going forward, and how does that impact the broader organization? I think they can also give us really good insight on the type of team that they've constructed and some of the strengths of their team, but maybe some of the areas of opportunity to bring someone in that can round out their part of the organization. So by not having that person involved from the start, I agree with you. It can create some challenges, for lack of a better word, in finding the right individual.
Yeah.
So we've had the intake discussion. We've gotten through those steps. We have a strong understanding of what we're looking for. And as you were talking about, we're having consistent update meetings with the hiring manager. What would be the reason if I'm a hiring manager and I'm extremely busy, and Qualigence or whoever our recruiting partner is has scheduled calls on my calendar and I've got other calls that I need to be on as well? Why should I prioritize those update calls? Because I can get that information from my HR person, right?
You could, but with being a hiring manager and you're probably reporting into somebody, knowing the facts on what's going on, where we are every step away in the process. Maybe we have a candidate we want to talk to you about because we like to present these candidates live, not just submit them over in an email. We might have some bullet points or say, hey, you know what, this candidate was lacking this, but they have this that's really strong. Right. So we want to be able to speak to that hiring manager live because it's also part of the candidate's experience as well, right? We want to make sure that that candidate's having a good experience across the board from Qualigence going on to that client or the next step with the interviews. We can also help schedule interviews on the hiring manager's calendar to make that one step less that a recruiter or an assistant or even that hiring manager has to do.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, and especially myself working at some of the more senior levels with the clients that we support, oftentimes we want to be able to report back those findings, what's going on in the industry. We're not a traditional retained agency where it's here you go, here's your 3 to 5 candidates. We've done all the vetting and you're going to hire one of these people.
Right.
It's, to your point, it's sending over candidates, but then having the opportunity to talk through them live to help the client understand, and specifically the hiring manager understand, based on what you shared with us, going back to that intake discussion, this is where we feel this person really stands out, and here's examples of that experience. And here's some areas that should you choose to move forward with this individual, you might have to do some development and kind of that give and take. And you can't have that conversation solely with an HR business partner or a talent acquisition manager.
Right.
Going back to the communication piece is, we make it a habit here to over communicate.
Yeah.
But we know that there are other recruiters out there, and probably shame on us, we've done this in the past ourselves, where if the search isn't going as well as I would like, I'm probably going to be less communicative than if it's going fantastic. And thinking of that hiring manager and what they need, what would you recommend to recruiters, TA leaders out there that, okay, the search isn't going great, but we are collecting a lot of usable information that we can share, a lot of data points. In those situations, how would you handle that?
I think it's having a game plan. So if you are struggling with a project, you are direct and honest and open with that hiring manager, saying, listen, this is where I am struggling. This is what I'm going to be focusing on moving forward. Also looking at that data that's coming in. I mean, we're talking to these candidates live saying, hey, what are your true must-haves over your nice-to-haves? Is there any way you can pivot or change direction on some of those expectations you maybe had at the beginning? Talking about salary expectations right now in this market is just absolutely crazy. So where is your max salary? Are you willing to budge a little bit for this candidate that hits A, B, and C and maybe needs a little bit more experience in D?
Yeah, I'm sure people might respond to this in the comments and say, yes, there is. I don't think there's ever a perfect candidate. No. There's not someone that's going to check every single box that you have and sit within the compensation banding that you're looking for.
Right.
And because if there are, you should hire that person without interviewing anybody else.
Right.
But it's our role and our responsibility to share all of that market intelligence, not just the final slate of candidates, but share all that market intelligence as to what we're finding. And I like what you said, being open and honest and transparent with the client to say, yes, we know we're struggling right now, but here's our plan to continue to move this forward, but here's what we continue to need from you in support. Because it really is creating a partnership.
It is.
It's not a client-vendor relationship that we're looking for, nor should everyone look for.
Right.
So to summarize, get the hiring managers involved from the very beginning.
Absolutely.
Over-communicate every step of the way, and make sure that they stay engaged and involved in the process.
You got it. Love it.
All right. So hopefully what we provided for you today is some initial steps, some very simple things that you can do to create that exceptional experience for your hiring managers. If you'd like to learn more about the Recruitment Education Institute, which is a part of Qualligence, or Qualligence services in general, feel free to check us out. The information will be at the bottom of the page.